My name is Vipul Jain. I am the CEO and Managing Director of the company. I'm also co-founder of the company. Currently focus on providing solutions to the airline, travel and logistics industry. Most industries, IT, the budgets of IT are typically between 1 to 3% of their top line. Right? This is what you will generally find across different industries, and airline industry is no exception. We are a specialized company, and in fact, a lot of what we offer are products, IPRs that we have created, right? So our challenge is a little different from those who are pure IT service companies. And as product companies, our challenges are really understanding not just what customers are doing today, but what will they be doing tomorrow. Because you create solutions not to solve today's problems, but to solve tomorrow's challenges. So we work very closely with our customers of IT in the logistics industry in India, right? And our objective behind the survey was to really understand that in the logistics sector, what is the usage of IT, what is the adoption of IT, and again benchmark ourselves with where we are globally to try and understand what's happening. I think the results of the survey are quite interesting. It sort of shows that on one hand, if you look at logistics in India, our overall logistics cost is much higher than what it should be. Okay. So if you look at the total supply chain and you say, efficient logistics, and you take the cost not just as the cost of transportation only, but the cost of inventory that gets wasted, the cost of warehousing inventory, etc., then clearly, the Indian economy, right, pays a fairly high cost for logistics, right? Nearly 13% of GNP vis-a-vis 7 to 8% that you see in other developed countries. Now, this inefficiency, some of it, of course, is well known. There has not been adequate investment in physical infrastructure, whether it's airports or it's ports or roads or whatever else it is. But also very clearly the IT, can enable two or three things to happen. For one, it can enable the optimal use of current assets. If you have an airport or you have a port or you have a road and you want to think, how can I maximize the utilization of this, right? Then the capacity planning, scheduling, all of these things can go towards optimizing the use of that asset. And that all comes back to the systems and processes that one uses. So clearly there is an opportunity there. Secondly, of course, you are seeing, far more in logistics. You need to talk end to end, right? So you talk about the shipper and the end customer, and you look at all the layers in between. So again, IT can provide a lot of efficiency, right? When you start communicating between different people. So you communicate between the guy who picks up the consignment, the guy who brings it to the airport, the airline, the customs, all of these different players that get involved. So clearly, communication between different partners using IT can again lead to a lot of efficiency. So very clearly, at least as far as the domestic logistics industry is concerned, the usage of IT is lower than what it should be. It needs to increase. The good thing is that I think the industry realizes this because very clearly, the expectations of customers, right, of their end customers are pretty much global service, right, global quality, world-class quality service. So I think some of those investments are beginning to take place. Again, typically the trend towards investment is that the big companies, they invest, right? While the small, medium-sized companies, they find it very difficult, right? Because they don't have the wherewithal where they can develop solutions, right? And it's just too expensive to say that I'll create a solution. So that's where, software products, right, packages that they can use, right, that which incorporate, world-class practices, right, but which are affordable to the small, medium enterprises, very important. Not only that, I think the time has come, where people are talking about software service deployment model. What that really means to say is that the software is available over the over a network, right? And you don't have to invest in the hardware, the servers, the databases, the management of all of those, right? I think again that's very, very applicable to small medium industries, right? Because that way they can have access to best in class IT and pay for use, right? So I think this is these are all, on one hand is opportunity, and on the other hand I think there are these new trends, right, which can be used. So I think certainly over the next few years you will see a lot more, customs, excise, octroi, all of these bodies do get involved in the movement of goods from place A to place B. And again, IT can make a very significant difference in the time that's taken for things to move and so on and so forth. So a lot of catching up to do. But I think we can have the opportunity to leapfrog, all right? We can use the best technology today, we can use the best models today, and therefore we don't have to sort of, copy what took place in the West, but actually leapfrog and go directly into newer models and innovations, right? Very important sector for the economy as a whole, right? And certainly, IT can play a very, very big role. In fact, a multiplier role, because at the end of the day, if you reduce the logistics cost, then it makes all goods and services cheaper. And it makes you that much more competitive if you're exporting. So I think logistics is what I would put, and by logistics I'm including ports, railways, airports, roads, all means of transport, all systems that are used in the whole supply chain management, etc., right? So I would put logistics as being what, in my view, represents a huge opportunity for the country.
Education and something on hospitals, they're still too immature or not?
Well, again, I'm really comparing it to the industries that we know well, which is really the travel, transport, logistics sector. If you talk about social sectors, then I certainly think that what the Prime Minister is trying to do with the Unique Identity project, right, is to target social spending, right? Because today social spending, is like you take a bunch of seeds and you throw them in the air and hope that a few will land on fertile ground, right? While with the Unique Identity project, what we are really trying to do is to target and say, here, this person needs education, this person needs food, this person needs employment, etc., etc. And competition is good, right? Because it works both ways. For one, it keeps you on your toes. And I think it's very important that certainly Kale, or I speak for anybody, we should not get complacent, we know it all, it's all easy and so on and so forth. So I think competition is good, it drives you to innovate and to move faster. Equally, competition is good because it creates, expands the market. Okay? And certainly as far as India is concerned, it's the expansion of the market that is important. Okay? If you look at India and you say how many people have already decided that they will spend on IT, and then that's the cake and more people will go after it, that's one way to look at it. But the second is to say, what more can be done in IT? Okay? What more? And there when you look at government, you look at, as I said, we just looked at the logistics industry and we said there's so much more possible. For that to really happen, it's good to have some credible suppliers. In fact, if you look at the McKinsey report, they talk about the next decade, up to 2020. And there's they say a lot of the demand is going to come from other developing countries, right? China, Brazil, Russia, and we have seen that, So I think there's opportunity there. There's certainly an opportunity in mature market, right, which talks about 2020, right? Then very clearly they're saying that for the Indian IT industry, a lot of opportunity exists in creating products, in creating IPR, A lot of the opportunity is in developing countries, because the fastest growing economies in the next 10 years are not going to be your US, Europe, etc., etc. They're already mature economies. They will only grow at a certain percentage. The fastest growing economies will be the underdeveloped economies, right?